Welcome. I'm Emmett Miller. These are the stories from the streets of Torrance, the incidents you won't see on the news or hear about on the radio. This is a chance for you to see the great work being done every day by the men and women of the Torrance Police Department. So buckle up as we take you on a ride along. This is Torrance Police, and you're in the passenger seat.
Getting off my shift. I work a graveyard shift, start at 10 p.m. and it was about 6 a.m. So I was about to head back into the station. The day watch was just going through their briefing to go into service. Driving through a residential neighborhood, and I saw a vehicle pass me in that neighborhood, coming into the neighborhood. So it was coming off of more of a major street. And as it passed me, the driver's side window, I remember, was somewhat rolled down. And there was a gentleman in the driver's seat of the car. And as he passed my vehicle, so he drove past the front of my vehicle, he looked at me and he kind of gave me that, uh-oh. I had noticed he had tinted windows, so I knew I had a reason to stop and talk to him if I so planned to do so. Turned down another residential street, which puts him right back to where he would have been coming from. So that kind of raised my suspicion a little bit, like, all right, obviously he's a little confused, doesn't know where he's going. Let me just stop and talk to this gentleman. He continued to drive through the neighborhood. So I knew at that point that either he was more confused that I was behind him and he was trying to find a spot to pull over, or that he wasn't going to pull over. Once we got back in the neighborhood, he actually pulled over to the curb, acting like he was going to pull over 2 to 3 times. No doors would open. I sat back in my car knowing that, hey, I don't know who's in the car yet. I'm going to wait for my other officers. I'm not going to exit my vehicle yet. I would open my door to make him think maybe that I am getting out of my car, and as I open my door, he would take off again. I didn't know who was in the car yet. Normally, in my previous experience, when people don't pull over right away, they're either trying to hide something in the car, whether it's a weapon, whether it's narcotics, or they're trying to think of a plan on fight or flight. It definitely raises your suspicion more, and also you think, okay, hey, this guy might be a bad dude, might want to hurt me, and so, yeah, it definitely started to get worse and worse as it continued on. Northbound, and coming out to Calimore.
Continuing northbound, coming out to Calimore, stand 55D, copy.
Once he saw the other units, he started to speed up. So we exited the neighborhood again, and once he exited the neighborhood again onto a major street, he took off to about 50, 60 miles per hour, and then I knew at that point that this guy wasn't going to change his mind. But pursuits in themselves are inherently dangerous, right? We don't want anybody to flee from us. And the quicker that we've realized, the quicker that we can end that pursuit if it's safe to do so, the safer it is for the community and also for everybody involved. And when I say end it, we at Torrance here are trained with the PIT maneuver, pursuit intervention technique, to basically disable that vehicle safely. And then other officers come in and we get the people into custody. I started getting closer to the suspect vehicle, trying to get in, and he made a couple turns where when I was driving, I would come to the back end, but there may be a parked car on the side of the road. So other stuff in the neighborhood had gotten in my way because it was tight streets with cars and everything. So as I would come in, to try to conduct the pit maneuver, something would stop me from being able to do so. So I just continued to follow. They continued to make turns through the neighborhood, and finally I had an opportunity where they drove down a street, and knowing our streets and working these streets, and especially that area for a while, I knew they had to turn left, and there was one left or the second left, and that's where that street ended. And knowing that in my mind, I'm like, okay, hey, this is my opportunity. Our second officer pulled up. The suspect accelerated and basically a head-on collision with our second officer. Rammed him right in the front, disabling my second officer's vehicle, and also pinned him in the car. He could not get out of his car. He had to climb over the driver's seat, or climb over the center console and get out of the passenger seat.
Do not move! Driver, put your hands up on the window! On the window! Anybody else in the car? Hands on the window!
We still didn't know who's in the car. You don't know if this person's wanting to hurt officers. You don't know if there's weapons inside the car. So we just want to get them to comply, to keep their hands where we can see them, so we know they're not reaching for anything or trying to do something to hurt officers or other people.
Take a passenger out that passenger side. Anyone over there?
Passenger has gloves on still, which to me obviously raises our suspicion. Okay, hey, these guys were most likely committing crimes. Not many people wear the types of gloves, latex gloves, while just driving in your car. And then we were able to see a third person in the back seat of the car as well.
Not you! Passenger, stay there!
You stay there. And they are trying to get the driver to open the door.
So we want to get compliance from them so that we can safely remove them from the car. So once we can get compliance, we ask them, hey, reach out, open the door, go ahead and walk out to us, back up, let us see that you have nothing on you, and then we can make a plan to take them into custody.
Driver, with your left hand, open the door, slowly.
Kneeling on your knees, slowly put your hands up and put them on the back of your head.
Once we searched the car, we located burglary tools, we located some property that didn't appear that it belonged to the individuals in the car, and we located some narcotics. The driver thought he had a warrant and didn't want to go back to jail, so that's why he fled. He ended up not having a warrant. He was just on probation. The front passenger was on parole for burglary. These subjects also had a bag of spark plug chips in the car. Spark plug chips are the porcelain end of a spark plug. And you throw those out a window, you can watch YouTube videos on them, you throw those at a window or windshield of a car, it shatters the window. As we're taking them into custody, multiple calls were coming into dispatch of people waking up in the morning and going outside and seeing their vehicle windows shattered. And this was all in the same general neighborhoods of where we had just pulled or where I tried to stop the individuals at the beginning. We started looking in the car and finding property, and I was able to locate property from crimes that the day watch officers were taking from property that was located in those victims' vehicles that was now in our suspect's car. To all the charges, the case of the assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, the felony evading from police, and then also the burglary and the narcotics charges were charged on the driver. The front passenger who was on parole, we called his parole officer. For whatever reason, they would not violate his parole again. If you're on parole, you're supposed to be in prison. You're given the chance to be out of prison and to be out in the streets, but you're supposed to abide by certain rules. Talk to your parole officer, make sure you're doing the right things. Obviously, he was not doing the right things, being in this car with narcotics, with stolen property. He said he would not violate him and send him back. They were able to charge the back passenger and the front passenger with the burglaries, but they'll have to go to court and figure that out. So those gentlemen were let out within a few hours, back out on the street. I think I left at about 4 p.m. that day, and those gentlemen were gone and back out on the street probably around 11 o'clock in the morning.
There's no such thing as a routine traffic stop, and in law enforcement, situations can change quickly. The challenges our officers face every day are not easy, but they're committed to keeping the community safe. Thanks for joining us. Don't miss the next episode of In the Passenger Seat.